welcome to the show. Now, a former secretary to the government of the Federation and close ally of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the presidential candidate of the Government of Progressive Congress, Babachir Lawal, is calling on President Muhammadu Buhari to intervene over the tension generated by the Muslim ticket of the APC, which is tearing party members apart, including other Nigerians who are worried. Babachir Lawal, in an open message to President Buhari, describes Tinubu's decision to pick Senator Kashim Shettima as a, quote, disastrous error, which is capable of dividing the country. Now, the former SGF, who is a northern minority Christian and a foundational leader in the APC, says he had intimated Tinubu of the merits and demerits of Muslim ticket permutations and also counseled him on the implication of such a decision, both verbally and in written form. He laments that Tinubu's decision to settle for a Muslim ticket is unfortunate and is based on poor judgment, while concluding that the APC candidate has been hijacked by powerful sources. And well, for more on this, I've now been gladly joined by Solomon Dalong, who is a former Minister of Sports and a House of Representatives candidate of the Social Democratic Party. And he was a foundation member of the APC before defecting to his new party. So good to have you. And how are you doing in your new party?
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. Well, we're trying our best. We're doing well.
A lot of persons are wondering why foundation members and leaders like you could leave the APC. Are you so worried about developments like this too? Did it contribute to your eventual exit from the APC?
Actually, maybe I will have to be saying I thank God because I saw this coming. And these were some of the things that influenced my conscience to take the decision of exit. Well, because when we founded the APC, the fundamental principle was unity, justice, social justice for Nigerians. And our intention was to right the wrong created by the 16 years of PDP administration. We also intended to build an egalitarian society where freedom and liberties of Nigerians will be respected. And we were driven by the passion to sustain our diversity and anchored multi-culturalism. But along the line, I discovered that justice was first sacrificed, and justice ceased to be a concept within the context of the operation of the party, and I became apprehensive. This started even when we were in government, but we tackled it at that level with the president because there were laid down channels of communication. So we made sure that we guided jealously the values that brought us into power. And when we left on consultation meeting the president, we kept emphasizing this. But when we lost the chance to see the president, then the only opportunity now is the open space, because a blind man doesn't know that people see him until you touch him. So I saw the development in the party, with the coronation of Mai Mala. From nowhere, a sitting governor was picked in violation of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Constitution of the party and installed as a caretaker committee chairman. And then he dismantled the entire party structures, including membership, and then invited us to come again for recruitment as if we were joining the military. So foundation members have to go and revalidate, meaning that our loyalty to the party was questioned by that particular act. Arrest my concerns.
Yeah, that was a revalidation exercise of the party then.
Yeah, then it followed with the suspension on some people. Mai Mala proceeded on suspending people, and then later converted the exalted office of the president to a campaign rally where the campees were received. So instead of the president to concentrate on the serious state matters, including security issues, which were on the front burner, the president's office was converted into receiving of the campees. And Mai Mala was going around lowing governors from the opposition and bringing them, and the president was busy giving flags. And I felt that was a departure from what we believe in. And then my instinct now suggested to me that there is every tendency we are not even going to have a free and a fair congresses and a national convention. And of course, it came to pass when they coronated. And so when they coronated Abdullah Adamu, after allowing people to campaign for the chairmanship for many months, and Abdullah Adamu was picked 2 days and coronated, I told myself that one, I am guilty of misleading Nigerians because, we lied to Nigerians.
So you've agreed that the APC and its leaders lied to Nigerians in terms of some of the plans that you said you had for the public?
I have admitted that I am guilty. I've said this on so many fora, that I am guilty of misleading Nigerians because this wasn't what we agreed. Now,
I'm coming back to this issue. You have raised some very key issues, and I wanted to set that as a template. You remember when the APC was being formed, Olisa Metu, then of the PDP, used to fire bullets at you and call you the Janjaweed Party, the Muslim Party. 7 years after being in government, it looks like all the PDP was using against you during campaign then is coming to pass. How do you feel that after all of those things that the PDP said, including that your APC is a fully Muslim-dominated party, is beginning to come to pass?
No, it's sad that I'm alive and that all the prophecy had come to pass. While in office, there was an attempt to sponsor a memo that has religious content. And I opposed the memo vehemently and drew the attention of the president.
Was it the issue of the water resources bill?
No.
Okay.
It has to do with the establishment of a National Islamic Education Commission. And I drew the attention of the president to the fact that there is an adage in my village that says, if you are suspected or being accused of being a witch, you don't dare go to the market to buy torchlight. Because once light is seen behind your house in the night, the presumption is that you have started the witchcraft. So I said, when we were campaigning, it was everywhere that we have a hidden agenda of Islamizing Nigeria. And so we should try to stay away from anything that had religious correlation. And I drew the attention of the Council to Section 10 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which prohibits the adoption of anything suggesting this government adopting a state
religion.
Very good. Mm-hmm. And that failed. So today, of course, there is nothing we can deny. The allegations leveled against us by the PDP cannot be anything far from being correct because...
Yeah, but how could people like you have been there, the APC? I'm saying Babachir coming out and crying out. Even before the Muslim tickets, we've seen groups, northern minorities, including you then, before you exited, crying out in the APC that there were some problems. Remember, even as of recent, Yakubu Dogara was said to have been shortlisted to be the Deputy National Chairman North for APC, and suddenly we saw Senator Abubakar Kyari being brought, and when I tried to do my investigation, I was told actually that a lot of religious mix came into it, and that's why even the APC vice presidential candidate right now has been accused of not, having religious tolerance. What do you say to all those things?
You see, there is nothing like an attempt to Islamize Nigeria. No, it's not true. But there is an attempt by a group of unpatriotic elements to use religion to assess power, capitalize on the gullibility of Nigerians to assess power. Because when finally they will be sharing the prostrate of power, they're not going to look at religion. Even those they are going to appoint using religion are those who are very close to them. So nepotism now will replace religion when they get power. But they are using this religion because they want to appeal to the sentiment of, ignorant Nigerians It's not a religious thing at all, but it's just an attempt. Very, very unpatriotic class, political elites, trying to play God and trying to play on Nigerians. They have been doing this in the party. But we have been thinking, no, since we could not directly link this with the president, because personally, I have met the president on many occasions with some of these things. And to be very fair and honest to Buhari, and Buhari still remains the Buhari I know.
Yeah, but he was being accused by the same PDP of being a religious bigot. He supports some of these things. And gradually, even though the APC deployed a huge propaganda machinery to quell all of that, it looks like Nigerians are waking up to this same reality. I mean, you have met Bola Tinubu before your defection out of the party. Why do you think Bola Tinubu would reach such a conclusion in the midst of several eminent Nigerians who are northern minorities and Christians that could help him out, even get the votes?
You see, let me frown at the use of the question of northern minorities. Who are the minorities? Are we saying northern ethnic minorities, or are we saying the Christians are the minority? And who has conducted the population? You see, this is one of the dangerous experiments. I pray that we don't get to test it.
Well,
see,
a lot of Nigerians are worried because as the ruling party, it has the federal might to conduct elections and do
there was the federal
anyhow.
might behind Jonathan. There was a federal might. But God intervened and he lost.
Do you think APC will lose this election?
Why not? They have no reason to win because they have indicated clearly that they never meant well for this country.
Are you saying this because you're angry with the APC and President Buhari that he didn't reappoint you as minister into his cabinet?
In fact, if I have been reappointed, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with this?
So you'd have been quiet because you're in the cabinet.
But would silence have solved the problem? Because Nigerians know me that I'm a very pretty man, only very ugly in the mouth. So how would I have dealt with it? Because people would have come to my house to say, talk. So even if I was still in government, it would have even been more difficult for me. You see, the truth about it is that our diversity has been attacked. And for Bola Tinubu to do this, it means he cannot tolerate any Nigerian. He lacks modicum of tolerance.
Isn't it about the votes? Because he's looking for someone that can help him to win the election. And like they keep saying, the primary objective here is to win the election.
Okay, but let me just come back to this. The Christians have won the ticket in the south and picked Muslim vice, and the Muslim voted overwhelmingly. So what made him feel that the same Muslims who tolerated even a Christian president with a Muslim vice would not elect a southern Muslim with a Christian vice?
You're making reference to Jonathan and Obasanjo.
Jonathan and Obasanjo. And the Muslims came out in their numbers to campaign for Jonathan and Obasanjo. So for him to express that fear and make this decision is a complete uncontrovertible evidence of incompetence. Incompetence, because if he was competent and confident of himself, he should have believed in Nigerians and believed in himself as a president to do justice to all. So the message he has sent us is that I am somebody who cannot tolerate anybody who is a Muslim. I am somebody who will not do justice to anybody who is not a Muslim. That is the message.
Okay, and
even Babachir, who has been his loyalist for all the years, he has sent a signal to him that, I mean, your loyalty is not guaranteed unless you change religion.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what I wanted to say earlier on. Babachir is known to be the closest to Bola Tinubu in the whole of these political calculations here and there, and one of his allies in the north. Now, as we continue this conversation, are you worried that Nigeria's diversity is being mismanaged by the governing party?
Completely. I am worried. In fact, from the day I heard of this decision, to be very honest, I lost my peace. And my mind has been so agitated.
So what should we do? What's the way forward?
You
Are you asking him to drop Shetima and get someone else? Or what would assuage Nigerians under this? Because it's within his fundamental right to choose whoever he feels as his vice presidential candidate.
Yes, he has exercised his right as a Nigerian and has attacked multiculturalism by his choice. Now it is left for Nigerians to now decide. But it is coming at a very critical and a wrong time, where our unity is very fragile and has been fractured. Now, making this decision at this time, disregarding the security situation and the separatist decadent tunes across the country, the attack of military and security institutions by Islamic groups, is quite unfortunate that at his age, he could make this decision. But the only thing in the circumstance, I may be wrong in my judgment, is that he made this decision thinking about himself or becoming president, but not about the survival of Nigeria. Because if I were in his shoe, I will make a decision. If I lose that election, I will go home that I made a decision in favor of the unity of my country that I love, and I lost.
Well, Tinubu says he has never lost any election, and he doesn't want to start losing elections with the presidential election that is coming up in 2023, because this is first shot and may be the last shot that he has.
So the election is about him, not Nigeria, I guess. Because if it's about him, then Nigerians have to think twice. Because the election should be about our country.
Yeah, but there are other choices. Atiku Abubakar and Okowa are there, and then we have Peter Obi and Deti Baba Ahmed, and then we have the Abga, Senator Peter Omiadi. We have, several of them. Your own party. I had him here yesterday, where we had this conversation. So, why are we restricting our choices to the APC?
No, but the point is that the APC is a governing party, is the custodian of the moral values of this country. And as Caesar's wife, she should live above board. That's the concern. If it were a party in opposition, it would be easy. Because look at, there's so many infractions and assault on our sensibilities by the party. The greatest problem, which I thought the media would also raise along this issue, is where are we going to keep our sensitive materials? Because the governor of Central Bank is already an APC member.
Yeah, but the CBN, INEC has already said that it's looking towards its its state offices across the country. If you look at what happened at the Ekiti election and then Osun State that's coming up this Saturday, INEC already has its own plans. It's no longer using the CBN.
So should we be subjected to all this, including what Tinubu has done with the APC?
So the APC has mismanaged our
no, the language mismanaged is very mild.
Is that what you're saying?
They have squandered everything that is our heritage and our civilization.
And so what is the SDP doing, your new political party? Do you think it's a party that can fill in the void?
We have been challenged with what they have done to work harder to provide the credible alternative and save this country. We are working now because what they have done has led us to begin to think outside the box and say, look, we must engage, we must make consensus in the interest of the country, reach out broadly and try to tempt this monster, because our inability to put the interest of the country over and above our personal interests, this monster will consume and destroy everybody.
So is the SDP a credible alternative? What are you doing to grab power from the APC, if you can?
I may not be discussing it here, because what they are doing is to ask a general to invite his opponent to inspect his armory before going to war the following day. But just to assure you is that what has happened has challenged me even to work harder, more than outside the SDP, to try to see how we can save this country. Yeah, I am not going to play any religious card. This ticket, this Muslim ticket, would have not been an issue if this country, as it were, is stable enough to accommodate it. But the country is undergoing so many trials. Not quite too long. we're living in serious fear in Abuja because of the attack on the correctional facility here in Abuja.
Yeah, I mean, you worked in the correctional service when it was known as the Nigerian Prison Service.
Indeed.
And I said I was going to take you up on that. How could this have happened? What are the processes of safeguarding such a correctional facility? I mean, based on your own previous experience like that.
Well, just like the president was completely disappointed in the intelligence community, I am too. Because this attack couldn't have taken place actually without intelligence filtering in. And these people used motorcycles and drove so many kilometers. And I was also imagining, why could anybody have not cited the movement to have reported? And they overran the system. Now, I am aware that when attack on the facilities became rampant, government deployed troops to all the facilities. What happened to the military troops stationed there that the correctional facility was overrun? Were they there? What were their response? There are so many unanswered questions. But I had only thought that the president, on arriving there, heads should have rolled, because there were some heads that were dangling that he should have rolled them.
And I'm concerned, just like a lot of Nigerians, why President Buhari always takes time to actually sack people. You have worked with him. Why does it take a longer period before Buhari takes a decision? Sometimes Nigerians almost have to be rolling on the streets just to beg him to do the needful.
He is somebody that once he builds confidence in you or in a person, it takes him time. But that is a personal attribute that is irrelevant to a public administration. Because in public administration, you don't bring in your personal capacity of trusting people into administration. They must justify the trust. So if they have failed the trust, you cannot be oiling their sustenance or balancing their deficit with your own confidence in them. Heads should have, there were about more than 4 or 5 heads that should have rolled immediately because they have been unable to account.
Yeah, but he says he's expecting a comprehensive report. And having served in government, like how long does it usually take for this kind of report?
You don't need a report for this thing. The mere fact that the security intelligence, daily security intelligence to his table does not disclose the tendencies of this attack, already he has been betrayed by all those involved. So he doesn't need a report to sack them. The report is supposed to determine their degree of involvement, either negligence or complicity in what happened. But they shouldn't be there before they are investigated, because the mere fact that they never drew his attention that something was about happening and it happened, they should have been sacked immediately.
So what do we do to prevent such an attack, based on your experience in working in the correctional service?
We need to build an internal capacity to resist, not bringing troops, because the correctional facilities is a very complex system that external security complement cannot successfully defend it. So we need to strengthen and enhance. I mean, the armed squad needs to be strengthened. More hands need to be recruited.
Yeah, but Obasanjo gave the approval for the prison services as a den to have an armed squad. So we are surprised that over the space of 2 years now, we've had a lot of prison breaks here and here all over the country.
The manpower is so insufficient to defend the system. Like the Kuje prison here should have not less than a complete battalion of armed men, well equipped with digital gadgets, drones, to be able to monitor the perimeter walls of the security of the facility. And even there should be CCTV cameras that should be all over, so that you have a situation room where you monitor from every cell what is happening. If there are people with phone being used, it could be seen, detected, and they are retrieved. But the phone facilities are available to, the inmates were more than even the one available to the staff, because one of the inmates called from his cell room and granted an interview directly to BBC and reported the situation.
Yeah, I mean, I heard about that and I was worried myself. How could the correctional service, officials allow that to be happening? I mean, here we have convicted prisoners communicating with even journalists. I mean, enjoying themselves. Some of them say that once you have more money, you live like a king.
That is called, under the correctional facility regulations, trafficking. That is allowing information or prohibited materials to get to the inmate. And what actually has happened is that there is endemic corruption that has destroyed, the core values of that institution. When we were in service, we serve our country patriotically.
Is it because they are poorly paid?
Poor payment is part of it. Non-payment of even allowances is part of it, because some of these things started while we were in service, where our allowances were not paid. You were supposed to escort a convict from one prison to the other on transfer. Then you were given your transport allowance handy before you move. You go on escort, come back for many years, you are not paid. They don't have even barrack facilities. They don't have enough office accommodations. Most of the prisons were built by the colonial administration.
Yeah,
we don't have even modern prisons in the Nigerian state.
It's only a very few number of states that have modern prison. I think Akwa Ibom State contributed in modern prison. Most of the facilities were built by the colonial masters. As we try to round off this conversation, do you think President Buhari is a happy man as he tries to end his second term, considering what we heard him saying, that he's tired, he wants to just go back and rest? Running this country is not easy.
The man is quite unhappy, and I think, knowing him and reading his mind, if today is 29th May 2023, he will just pack his things and go, because he has been disappointed and betrayed by so many people he trusted with responsibilities to help him realize his ambition for this country. And Buhari is a great lesson to so many young people coming up, that, if you have the opportunity to lead this country, you have a great battle to fight. You
were some of the revolutionaries around Buhari. I remember covering you sometime around 2013, 2014, alongside Athanasius, Okon, and all of that, those groups of people mobilizing very well for Buhari. How disappointed do you think you are, even in yourself, about the failure of all of those ideas you shared that made a lot of Nigerians to even be paying 100 naira to purchase, I think, these recharge cards that will help power the Buhari support group and all of that?
No, I'm disappointed that I'm unable to realize what we conceived in 2015, because this wasn't the bargain we had with Nigerians.
So it's a different APC from what you all conceived.
What we have now is not the APC we started, because so many migrants and so many political metamorphoses has taken place. Majority of those we fought against and with hanging allegations of corruption, they are the key actors now in APC. And I'm afraid of the way we behave in this country, because these political parties now are just like political stations. So people migrate and metamorphose conveniently from one side to the other. So those who were in PDP, they are the ones now that are active members. Some of them are holding ministerial position in APC. Tomorrow, if another party form government, they will migrate again and then become
political migrants.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so does that mean that Buhari himself is powerless to reform the APC before he leaves?
No, Buhari cannot do anything, because the forces against him manifestly proved to him during the National Convention that there is nothing he can do.
So he's not as powerful
but
as
if I were in his shoe, I would have embarked on a blind man's fight, strike everywhere before I leave, because I must defend my legacies. He has to dismantle all these things, because nobody is greater than him. He has his finger on the password of the nuclear weapon. So he has the final say to determine whether this country exists or not.
Okay, just before I let you go, I won't go to asking you why a former minister would be contesting for a House of Representatives seat. A lot of Nigerians and maybe your admirers are even worried that it looks like you're downgrading yourself politically.
No, my ambition was also to think of the presidency, but I looked at the power equation and equity and fairness. And I mean, they're not having produced a president for 8 years, it would be irrational for me to think I will contest. So I preferred to preserve the unity of this country, and I will look downwards south. And I also believe in what we call generational power shift. I believe that the elders have done their best. They should support young people. Let them take over.
So why didn't you go for Senate? Why House of Reps?
The issue of the House of Reps in our place is that my local government is one of the local government that has never produced a member of the House of Reps since 1959, when the federal constituency was created. So our people now felt, the young ones felt, I mean, each time they present somebody, they say he's incompetent, he's inexperienced. So they said, no, we will sacrifice you whether you like it or not. The issue of this is too small for you, don't tell us. Come and correct this political irregularity and create a future for us.
Okay, and they didn't call you to come under the APC or PDP?
No, I told them
you to come under
SDP. I was the one, I started my contest under APC. But when I saw this thing coming, I knew all those who are going to contest for the primaries, they will lose because there will be coronation in government houses. And most of those who disagreed with me and insulting me, I saw them biting their fingers in the National Assembly, and they have followed Jeremiah in lamentation.
We must thank you indeed. Solomon Dalong, controversial, quintessential politician, has been a former minister of sports in Nigeria, and of course he was one of the pro-Buhari's movement supporters, leaders and all of that, and eventually they came into government, but unfortunately he was swept away in 2019 and couldn't make Buhari's second term cabinet. We must thank you so much for joining us on the show, and we hope to have you around some other time.